Welcome to Cub Chat Live. Thank you all for watching today. My name's Aaron. I'll be your host today. We are joined by one of our most valued guests, one of our most knowledgeable guests, and quite frankly, one of the nicest people I work with. Andrea, how are you doing today?
Oh, great, Aaron. Thank you for that introduction. That's so nice.
It is so nice to have you on today. It's always a pleasure. Today's topic, guys, we got a good one today. All of our shows, of course, are good, but today is a nice, good, healthy topic that I think we all can relate to. Cub Scout camping, the old pack campout, family camping, if you will. Um, just to get us started, Andrea, boy, camping, kind of one of the basic tenets of scouting, right? It's kind of one of the things we promise families and kids when we recruit them, when we have our joint scouting night, when we make the flyers, and when we post images of Cub Scout activities. Camping is almost always involved, right? This is kind of one of the basic core things we do, right?
Oh, absolutely. In fact, I think all of us is when we think about scouting, I hope we think about camping, even at the Cub Scout level. And when you talk to any kid who comes and wants to join the program or is a part of the program, and you ask them, why do you want to join Scouts or what's something you like about Scouts? I'm going to guess that a lot of the time they're going to say camping. And so it absolutely is such a critical core opportunity for all the kids and frankly, us parents too. So it's
100%
it's
true.
such an important
Yes.
part of what we do.
Yes, exactly. So, to the topic of today's show, kind of the basics of Cub Scout camping, what you need to know, what you need to do to be prepared for a successful Cub Scout camp out. And like with all of our shows, we want to hear from you guys. Where do you have a favorite place to go camping? Do you have a favorite activity that you do during camping? What kind of advancement do you work on while you're camping? What do you eat? How many s'mores can you eat in one sitting? These are all the things that we need to know about camping from you guys. We've got Andrea on for about the next 30 minutes or so. Omid is watching. Thank you for watching. We appreciate that, and we encourage everybody else to chime in with their comments. Let's start off, Andrew, with maybe the basics. Camping season is just about upon us. What do Cub Scout leaders need to know kind of to be prepared for that first camp out of the fall?
Great question. And so, one, I think it's amazing when every Cub Scout pack, as they've looked at their entire year, has a fall camp out included as part of that.
Yep.
Most of our packs have likely just done some recruitment over the last month or two and have some new families. Plus, perhaps you didn't meet as frequently during the summertime. And so everyone's kind of itching to get back to scouting, and having that first camp out is such a wonderful way to bring everybody back together and have that outdoor experience. And so the first thing, though, as a Cub Scout pack and you're planning, is you'll want to make sure you have at least one person who has what we call BALOO training. BALOO stands for Basic Adult Leader Outdoor Orientation. Little Cub Scout history for you. BALOO, like Baloo the bear. And so for those who haven't had a chance to take that course yet, it's a really valuable training opportunity, very hands-on, and it will help whoever is going to help coordinate the Cub Scout camp out for your pack really know all the things to consider. So maybe lots of us as parents have put on birthday parties or put on activities at our faith centers, or maybe we've done things for our sports clubs, but there's something kind of specific about planning for a Cub Scout camp out. And the BALOO training really kind of walks you through line by line, step by step, all the things you want to do, to your point, from the food to some activities to thinking about health and safety, where to go. And so the first thing all of us as Cub Scouts need to make sure we have is at least one person with that opportunity already. And that's one of the things, even now, let's say your Cub Scout pack wants to go camping this fall and you don't have someone in your pack that's trained. Well, one, very likely someone around you, so perhaps another council or another district in your area, is putting on that training so you can still get it. Or two, there might be somebody within the scouting community who has that training and can assist you while you wait to get someone with you in your pack train. So don't let that be a deal stopper. Let's make sure we think outside the box, and we'll find a friend who has that too.
And so just to clarify, Baloo, that training is offered by your local council. Can you
Yep.
take that online, Andrea, or is it in person only?
Well, it's actually both, which is kind of fun. So you do an
Okay.
introduction portion that's online, kind of gets you thinking about stuff. And then you actually go and take that course in person, which includes getting to camp out overnight, which is actually a lot of fun. People think, oh man, going camping, it's weird not to go with my kids. But actually, it's really fun to go out with a bunch of parents and adults who are all focused on the same thing. And it just allows, and it's just a one night camp out. And again, of course, the training that takes place the next day throughout the day on various topics.
and it's something you only have to do once,
That's
believe,
right.
right? Once you've done it, you're good for the rest of your scouting career. And as Andrea said, you just need one person in your pack to have taken that training, and that one person needs to be on your pack camp out, right? They
Right.
have to go with you, right? Yes,
Yep.
exactly. Okay.
Exactly.
Yeah, excellent. All right. So, step number one, BALOO, I'm going to give a few shout outs here. Todd's watching from Farmingdale, New York. Todd, thank you for watching. Arnold, right here in the Circle 10 Council. Arnold is watching. Thank you, sir. We appreciate that. Jason is tuning in from Florence, Mississippi. Jason, thank you. And Jeremy, thank you, Jeremy, for your comments. We can always count on Jeremy. He says his pack does 2 campouts, one council campout and one community campout, at which they do a lake cleanup. I'm glad you said that, Jeremy, because we're going to touch a little bit later today on the advantages of a council campout. If you've never organized, like Andrea said, you might have some experience organizing birthday parties, church events, things like that. If you're a little bit intimidated by the idea of organizing your own pack campout, have no fear. Your council is here for you. Rob points out that a camp out is a great time to welcome new scouts and also a good time to get to know those new parents, which is true. There's usually going to be time to sit around campfire, hang out, share stories with other parents. A great way to talk to them about scouting and just find out what they're interested in. They probably have a skill set that you can use. Which kind of brings me maybe to my next question for you, Andrew. When we talk about a Cub Scout pack camp out, who do we invite to these Cub Scout pack campouts? Obviously, we invite all the kids.
Yep.
We
So
invite,
their families, which is, I
yeah,
think, maybe it's definitely the unique part of Cub Scouting compared to some of our older Scout programs, where our youth begin to have a little bit more independence and go out and practice things like the patrol method and other aspects of Scouts, BSA, and older programs. But in Cub Scouting, I think one of the most special parts about the idea of going camping with Cub Scouts is the idea that the whole family comes together and gets to go out and have that camping experience. And there's a whole lot of reasons for that. One, certainly I'm with Rob. In fact, this weekend, I'm going camping with my own Cub Scout pack, and I am doing exactly what he's talking about, which is I'm going to use that chance to talk to some new parents about some opportunities that are available within our pack committee. So there's some advantages there, but really, I think for a lot of these scouts, their first time maybe going camping, even if it's not, you've got a 6, 7, 8, 9-year-old, it can be a little intimidating to be outdoors and to go camping, especially if you haven't done it before. And so having mom and dad there, I think, can ease that transition. But also, I think even more important is that mom and dad have fun too. And so that means brothers and sisters can attend, whoever your family is can come and be part of that experience with their scout and can come and have that full opportunity from camping to eating to activities and enjoy that experience together, including the s'mores.
Yes, absolutely. Yes. I don't know what your pack is like, Andrea, but when I was a Cub Scout leader back in the day, we had quite a few families who, the adults had never been camping either. Really fun to see that adults out there for the first time with their kids. They're kind of in it together. It's really a bonding experience for them. And like you say, one of the really cool kind of unique things that we offer as Cub Scouts, these folks, if it hadn't been for Cub Scouts, who knows, they might have never gone camping before, but we gave them that opportunity. We sort of set up that structure that gave them the opportunity to do that. Very rewarding, very, very cool to see. Again, appreciate all the folks commenting. Let us know your favorite Cub Scout activities, any tips you have on planning a camp out. James points out that he's a member of the Tidewater Council. Their BALOO training is coming up this weekend. James, I hope you're going to be there, or maybe somebody's going to be there. Very, very cool. Arnold, not only has he been to BALOO, Andrew, but Arnold leads his district's BALOO course. He notes that it's required for a Cub Scout Den or pack outdoor event. Thank you very much, Arnold. Appreciate that. Gwen, they're headed out to a council camporee tonight. Maybe that's a good topic to talk about next, Andrew. We've got a few folks talking about a council event. So in general, what are the advantages of maybe, we've talked about a pack family camp out. What's the difference between that and an event that's put on by your local council where they already set up the location and everything like that, and you just show up?
That's a great question. So, we talked about all the training that goes into putting on the activity, which is BALOO training, and that helps one person be prepared, but still can be a little intimidating. There's also obviously a lot of steps have to take place. You need to reserve a location. Someone's got to arrange for the food. Someone has to arrange for who's going to do what, who's bringing what. And so, there's some mechanics and logistics to that. So if we look at what a council is offering, so each of us is a member of a council. So here in Fort Worth, I'm in the Longhorn Council. And so in the Longhorn Council, just like those across the country, they'll put on activities specific for Cub Scouts, which is amazing because one, they're going to do all that pre-planning for you. And so that takes, I think, a burden off of the pack, especially if it hasn't been something that maybe your pack's done in a while, or maybe you're not sure. So there's an opportunity there for that to be done for you. The second thing, which I think is really fun, is you get to meet other scouters and other families from around the area. And just because often when you get more people together, they bring in additional resources. So it might be that some of the activities that the council might offer might be something beyond the scope of what your pack could offer, including there are some activities that can only take place within your council led events. And so that just allows a chance to do some of those things that maybe are a little tougher for a Cub Scout pack to do individually. Doesn't mean that what our Cub Scout packs, including mine, are going to do aren't amazing. It's just an opportunity to do something different. And I can't remember who said they have maybe an option to do both. So like one part of the year they do one with the council,
Yep.
one part of they do with their pack. And so it's nice to have kind of a variety that way.
Yeah, Gwen points out they're going to their council camporee tonight. The next weekend after that is their troop-led camp out. The weekend after that is the council spooky-ree. It sounds like they're doing a little bit of both, which is a great option. Yeah, one of the cool things about going to a council event like this that I experienced was that a lot of the kids would see friends from other schools or from people they knew that maybe they didn't even know they were in a different Cub Scout pack, and they would see them at these council events. We would go, there'd be sometimes hundreds of scouts there. Very, very cool. Talk about kind of a bonding experience with your own family. This is a chance for Cub Scouts in your pack to maybe get to know and spend some time with Cub Scouts in another pack. They're both great activities. Both definitely have advantages. Jason says they had their pack camp out last weekend at Rainwater Observatory. That sounds cool. Rainwater Observatory at French Camp in Mississippi. They worked on their Nova Award when they were out there. Very, very cool, Jason. And that leads me, Andrea, to another good question. Let's talk about camping activities. Advancement, James, they chose to work on the Nova Award. You can do some advancement activities. You can just do some kind of fun activities, right? What do we suggest?
Absolutely. I think one, it's always great to ask the kids, right? So first of all, I think we'd all acknowledge that kids will be happy and have fun just being outside. But it's probably not the most successful camp out to just kind of stare at each other outside. So to have some activities planned out, and if in those cases where it makes sense, those activities might also qualify for advancement, then it's a win-win. So I'm not looking at the book right now, so if I get this wrong, apologies to the audience. But for example, I think it's like the Wolves have to do a flag ceremony outdoors, right? So if you have the opportunity to do a flag ceremony at the camp out, well, then that's an opportunity for the Wolves to potentially pass off that advancement. Or maybe you're with the Webelos, and the Webelos are going to do the cast iron chef adventure, I think it's called, and they need to plan and prepare for a meal, and so that gives them a chance to do some advancement. And that also, I think, helps ease the burden a little bit for our den leaders as they're trying to figure out ways to accomplish some of these advancements. Having that outdoor setting provided as part of the camp out really allows for that. And there's just so many ideas of things that you can do at your camp out. That's why I'm eager to hear some of the other things that our audience might have done. But I also like what I think you said, James said about doing the Nova Award, because there are some things that maybe aren't part of our advancement tracks, but that are additional things that can be added in without taking maybe what a den leader is going to do next week at their den meeting. And so probably a balance to find there for sure.
Absolutely, yes. And there may be some advantages to, as you plan your next camp out, having kind of an itinerary and setting some time aside. If you've got a certain den leader who's going to be there who says, hey, we could do this, set some time aside, let them take an hour or two. You're going to be together for 24 hours or so, maybe longer if you're at a council camp out, right? So maybe it's a good idea, give a den leader, if they're going to be there, time to spend an hour or two and have a little mini den meeting there and work on an outdoor requirement. Andrew, I'm curious, for your camp out, do you guys have a minute-by-minute schedule itinerary? Do you have a designated, free time activity? How rigidly do you plan your weekend camp out?
So we call this our fun agenda for the weekend. So it's our fun agenda, and I'm going to say there's something set for every hour, but we're going to be flexible enough with each other that if the kids are really enjoying the activity, we're not going to just rush right over because
Right.
we have some schedule to keep. And I think that's really the balance as us as adults, try not to overschedule and overplan, but still have a really successful event. And so for us, for example, in the morning tomorrow, we're going to be doing we have a local troop coming out. So it's sometimes fun to invite older scouts to come out and participate and help with the activities. So we have an older troop coming in the morning to help with some of the kids' basic first aid skills, because each of the areas of Cub Scouts have some level of first aid to learn. And then so they'll do a couple different, we'll call them stations for lack of a better word, in the morning, and then we have lunch. And then after that, to your point, all the dens have about an hour for two things. One, to cover anything maybe that they need to cover for their advancement or something that their den wanted to do, but then also to prepare a skit for the camp out. And so this gives them a chance to kind of break away from the other groups and, kind of decide, we're going to do a song, we're going to do a skit, we're going to do jokes, which again is another advancement opportunity for a lot of our dens. But more importantly than that, kids don't care about that part. They just want to get out in front of their families and friends and showcase their talents.
Yeah, gives them a chance to act goofy in front of a
Absolutely.
large audience. It's like a dream come true. Yes.
Well, and ideally, because you've got all those families there, there's even a chance for, siblings to do something, moms and dads to do something, some of those interactive songs where then our kids get to watch us be a little silly. And sometimes in our day-to-day life, it can be hard to do that. And so that type of camp out, campfire allows for that.
Yes, awesome. And I love the idea of bringing in older scouts, a Scouts BSA troop or a den chief or someone like that to come help out. I'm sure you've noticed this, Andrea. My experience when we had a den chief was, man, my Cub Scouts listened to our den chief way more than they ever had any interest in anything I was saying. So that's a really cool thing to see also. Cub Scouts kind of looking up to a Scouts BSA member. Definitely a cool idea to bring them along, even if it's just for a few hours, like during the day, right, on the camp out to help you. And you're kind of doing them a favor because they might be satisfying some of their requirements as well. So there could be a Scouts BSA troop or a few Scouts BSA members near you who are looking to satisfy some of these leadership requirements and would love to be invited to a Cub Scout camp out. Definitely something to look into. Andrew, we have a good question from Gwen about YPT requirements. And I believe maybe this might have changed recently, but maybe you could sort of fill us in. What is the BSA requirement for adults on Cub Scout campouts for YPT? All adults need YPT or just the registered leaders?
Great question. So I'm going to tell you, this is the policy today, and it's been the policy since about 2018. So all registered leaders have to have youth protection, obviously, in order to register. And so they need to have that. Parents who are attending do not have to have it. Now, in our Cub Scout pack, we strongly recommend it. Your charter partner might have a requirement, and so your council might have a requirement. And so I'm telling you what the national policy is, but you may want to touch base on those couple of levels. Nope. But from a national office perspective, we are going to require those registered leaders to have it. But we are going to require, don't forget, every single scout who joins, every rank, they have to review with their parents the youth protection pamphlet that comes as part of their handbook. And so as part of your camp out communication and preparation, one, remind your parents, regardless of their registration status, to review that pamphlet. And then also for us, in most Cub Scout, we teach us in BALOO. In most Cub Scout camp out preparation, you're going to send out some communication to the parents about what to bring and what time we're going to be there and what the address is. Don't forget to include, Gwen is so right on, some of those key youth protection reminders so that they remember, hey, I can only share a tent with my family, right? I can't be walking around camp for whatever the reason might be with a kid who's not my own, right? Just one-on-one. And so just reinforcing some of those policies, it can be a great way to just remind parents, especially those who aren't den leaders or Cub masters or on the committee, et cetera, who may not have some of that experience or training that our leaders have.
And we had when I was Cub Scout camping, we had a couple of families, who were very close with each other, and we had a camp out coming up, and the parents of one of the families couldn't make it. So the other mom said to me, well, he's just going to stay in our tent since his family's not going to be there. Correct me if I'm wrong. They really shouldn't do that, right? That's against our YPT policies, even if they're friendly, and they probably know that other family better than they knew me, right?
Absolutely. So a couple things. One, it's family camping in our Cub Scout program, so that suggests families. But I think you just acknowledge there are times when for whatever reason, a Scout's family just can't be there. But we
Right.
wouldn't want necessarily to eliminate that young person from participating if we can avoid it. So in those instances, a registered leader can bring one other child with them to the camp out, assuming the parents give them permission and those types of things, to the camp out. So if you're not registered, you can't do it. But if you're a registered leader, which means you've had a background check, you've been youth protection trained, then you can bring that other scout with you. However, to your point, they cannot share your tent.
Right.
So in most cases, so this actually happened to me last year. It was awesome because I have two boys. This other scout who is a boy, they just all shared the same tent. And so my husband and I had a tent and 3 boys had a tent and everybody was happy. And so it's not to say that that young person has to be in their own tent, though they could be. They could share a tent with other youth for sure in Cub Scouts.
Perfect solution. Rob points out that he and I might have hung out at a district cubbery or two. We might have, Rob. Yes, we might have indeed. Rob, a very valuable volunteer here in our area, organized a few Cub Scout events I was at. Did a great job. You mentioned this a little bit a second ago, Andrea. Communicating with your parents in the weeks and days, and heck, maybe even the day of the camp out, right? What do we need to know? What do our viewers need to know about communication and as part of like the planning of a camp out?
So a couple of things. If any parent is like me who's watching, I feel like I get so much stuff about my kids' activities between Cub Scouts and karate and swimming or church or whatever those things are. I got a lot of information coming at me. And so I know our Cub chairs, outdoor activity chair in our pack sent information out about a month ago. And yesterday I'm like, oh yeah, where's the medical form? I know she gave it to me. And where's the release for the location? So it's, to your point, very important to communicate not just once, but multiple times, because all of us just get so much stuff, right? So much email, and it doesn't have to end just that one time. But even the day of, I had some parents texting me like, oh, do I need to bring dinner tonight? I'm like, oh yeah, no, you don't need to bring dinner tonight. So those things that maybe you might forget to tell someone, if you see that question popping up a couple times, it might be either needs to be reinforced or might be something we just forget to tell people. So having some of that is very helpful. And this is where a lot of our Cub Scout packs probably have a tradition of going camping, probably not all of them. And if you have materials from other campouts, you can kind of start from there. But if you don't, this is another advantage of doing something like BALOO or working with your local district or council representative. They can help you put together some information of the things that you'll want to remind your parents of prior to attending, because otherwise, how would you know? And so that's another example of that being an advantage.
Yes, awesome. We are talking about Cub Scout pack camping today with our good friend Andrew. We've got just about 5 or so minutes with her. A lot of folks in the comments sharing ideas and suggestions. We appreciate that very much. You've got about 5 more minutes to ask Andrew any questions. Erica has a qualifying question, Andrew, that I want to address. She says she thought that only Webelos could camp without a parent. Is it correct that if a parent gives permission for a younger scout to go camping without them, if they can't make it, they're allowed to do that?
Erica is awesome. So 2 things: lions and tigers have to have their adult partner for any activity. So she's totally right about that.
Yep.
If you have a wolf or a bear or a Weeblo in those rare occurrences, could do that. But again, it might be something that, if you're like me, it's just not something that we just want to do, whatever reasons, right? There may be a reason your charter partner doesn't allow it, or
you yourself just not comfortable with it, right?
Yeah, remember, you're taking on someone else's kid. Doesn't matter if
Right.
it's for Cub Scouts or soccer or something else.
Right.
And so I would be thoughtful about that. But she's right. We need to be mindful about lions and tigers for sure.
Erica, thank you very much for the comment. We appreciate that. Let's talk a little bit more about activities. And you kind of mentioned your itinerary. What do you think your experience, the most popular activities on a camp out? Obviously, you're going to spend the night in a tent. That's pretty cool. What about other type of activities you can do during the daytime hours, Andrea?
First of all, absolutely. The tent is something that every kid enjoys putting it up, right? Yep. The opportunity for getting to see, just be outdoors. I mean, so that in itself is an excitement and an enticement. So one, I have 2 thoughts. And I would love to hear what the audience thinks, because they might have something that's specific to their area that their Cub Scouts really like. Yep. In my experience, our Cub Scouts love when they can do something hands-on. And so if you can do fishing, if you can do some of the outdoor skills that they see in their handbook that can be a little harder to do as hands-on, in a den meeting, then those are the things that our kids love and they comment on, because they actually got to do something with their hands. Obviously, being talked at or learning in that environment is not a bad thing, and we certainly want to involve that, but they're really there to be active. So that's one. And the second thing that our Cub Scouts really love is anytime their families can do it with them. And so I'll give you an example. 2 years ago, every activity camp out, we do a family-wide game. So all the families are going to participate and all the kids are going to participate. And so we did milk jug lacrosse. So you take like those wagons on one end of the field and another wagon on the other end of the field, and then you have milk jugs, and they're just throwing the ball back and forth to get across the field. And so those types of activities, we've done kickball, we've done ultimate frisbee, those types of things where the kids, one, can run around, but two, they can do it alongside their mom and dad or their brothers and sisters. Always a hit.
Yeah, I was going to say we did kickball when I was a Cub master, and I think back then that was an elective. It was a belt loop or something like that you can get, and that was a lot of fun. I agree. Any activity that gives them some physical exertion is a good thing. A camp out can be tiring, and they're going to be tired at night, and that's a good thing. They're going to sleep, pretty darn good, especially when you get them settled down around that campfire, like Andrea said, some skits, and of course s'mores. We've actually done entire shows dedicated to s'mores. So we're doing s'mores a disservice by only talking about them for 30 seconds. But I mean, as far as I'm concerned, that might as well be a requirement.
Absolutely. So every time we go on a family camp out just with our family, or we go with our Cub Scout pack, we try to think of a new way to do s'mores. Mm-hmm. So there's always the classic. We always have to have the classic stuff there. Yep. But this weekend, we're going to make s'morios.
Awesome.
S'morios are going to use Oreos. Did you guys already do that on your show? And I missed it?
I believe that was one of the options we mentioned. We mentioned a few, and I don't remember. I don't think we used that term, though. I love s'morios.
Yes. And then last time we went camping over the summer, we did smacos, which is where we used tortilla instead of graham crackers and made them into tacos, s'more tacos, so smacos. So yes, lots of fun ways to do it. I also haven't tried this yet, but I'd love to hear anybody in the audience. Walking s'mores. So if you've heard of walking tacos, this is where you take like a bag of Teddy Grahams and you put mini marshmallows in there and mini chocolate chips. And not all of our Cub Scouts can go camping where they can have fire. Like I lived in the West Coast.
Yep.
Fire can be challenging. And so in this example, you actually put those bags of little Teddy Grahams with the little mini marshmallows and the chocolate chips in a crock pot and let them heat up so that the chocolate melts. And then you give the walking s'mores to the kids. So
yeah, that sounds awesome. Andrew, just give me driving directions. Let me know what time to be there, and I'll be happy to sample the s'mores, the s'morios for you guys. Rob points out that his pack Tug of War is always a hit. Very cool, Rob. Appreciate that. This has been a great discussion, Andrew. We've got lots of folks sharing ideas in the comments. Keep those comments coming. As a reminder, this show will be here long after Andrea and I are done. You can tag friends, you can share it with friends, you can even keep commenting if you want to. Whatever Facebook page you're watching on right now, this show will be there for you, along with our show about s'mores, by the way. If you want to go back into the archives, you will see where we talked about s'mores. Andrea, before we let you go, any final thoughts about a Cub Scout pack camping?
If this is the first time your pack has planned an event of this type, you don't have to start and go all out, right? So start small, just being outside, just starting out, going out together as a group of families and camping. And even if it's not for an entire day on Saturday or Sunday or whenever that event might fall, just do something small, and that's totally fine. Kids will love it. And then second is, as parents, if we're not having fun, then maybe our Cub Scouts might not be having as much fun. So just make sure that you are engaging the families as well as the Scouts themselves, and everybody will have a great time.
Awesome. And a final bit of advice from me: go to your council's website, look at their calendar, and go to your district website, which may not be the same as the council website. You may have to find your district website, find that calendar, and there very well likely might be a camp out that's already planned and prepared, and all you have to do is show up. That's really cool too. As Andrea said, lots of advantages to having your own packed family camp out with your own packed families and that's it, nobody else. That's great. Also some advantages to doing a council camp out or a district camp out or something like that. We appreciate everybody watching today. We are fresh out of time. Andrea, have a great time on your camp out this weekend.
Thank you so much. And to everyone going camping, have a great time too.
Yes, awesome. Thanks for the time. Thanks for watching, everybody. We appreciate that. We'll be back next week. Enjoy the weekend. It's a long weekend for some of us, I know. Have fun. Have a good time. We'll see you next week. By the way, Andrea, Bob says thanks. He says, thanks, Andrea. Good to see you. Thanks, everybody, for watching. We'll see you guys later.